Es una costumbre ya en muchos movimientos sociales estar en conversación con personas de academia, gente de universidad, que durante siglos ha tenido una práctica también colonizadora, queriendo controlar el conocimiento y tener poder sobre el conocimiento. Es por eso que de unas décadas acá, pues hay como un intento de la academia, de las personas de universidad, de cambiar el chip y de imaginar otra relación con la vida y particularmente con los movimientos sociales. Ponerles en el centro como sabedores y sabedoras, expertos en humanidad, expertas en humanidad. Y es por eso que la metodología que proponemos en este encuentro es escuchar también a las personas de universidad, pero en la retaguardia, se dice, es decir, atrás de quienes están día a día enfrentando violencia, resistiendo y re-existiendo. Y es por eso que en el salón de arriba y aquí ahora es un momento de escucha. Ellas dos, Susan Abraham y Maddie Jarrett, son dos colegas teólogas que van a compartir con nosotros lo que están aprendiendo con nosotros, lo que están descubriendo y después, obviamente, seguimos la conversación. No es una última palabra, ni mucho menos. Ya las he presentado, pero de nueva cuenta les doy la bienvenida. Susan Abraham, teóloga, profesora en California, en la Escuela Pacífica de Religiones, y es una teóloga de la India. Actualmente también es presidenta de la Revista Internacional de Teología Concilium, además de otras actividades importantes en el medio académico. Y Maddie Jarrett, ella es estudiante doctoranda en Boston College, la universidad donde varios de los que estamos aquí estamos muy contentos de ser parte de esta delegación, y además de su experiencia en educación, está trabajando el tema de la filosofía y la teología de la discapacidad como otro modo de hablar de violencias y resistencias. Entonces, ellas han sido las dos escuchadoras. Si la gente de Bendita Mezcla me acepta ese término, ustedes les llaman sabedoras, pero quienes escuchan pues ya tienen esa otra habilidad de aprender y crear conocimiento. Ellas dos entonces nos van a compartir en unos 10 minutos cada una su elaboración de cómo han escuchado lo que hemos juntos vivido esta mañana. Susan, tienes la palabra.
Thank you, Carlos, very much. I sincerely apologize for not speaking Spanish. I'm very limited, so I will speak English slowly and hope I communicate what I want to say. I have so many notes, I'm not going to be able to get through it. But let me see if I can tell you a story. This is a story you know, but I want to say it in a way that is shocking. So the story starts on Friday, right after the crucifixion. The women met together right after Mary saw her son die. This was not the first time the government had done this. They had seen this happen many times before. Not only did the women know that the government was very good at killing, but the government was very good at disappearing the body. They knew it was going to happen. So they met around Mary, who had known this was going to happen. She had pondered these things deeply in her heart right from the beginning. As they collected around her, they asked her, "What should we do now? We know what's going to happen." And she said, "We have to wait. We have to wait, because if we don't wait now and act too fast, they will make us disappear too. So we have got to wait," she said. Now, Mary was the kind of person that everybody listened to, but the one who really called the shots was the other Mary, the Mary they called the Magdalene. She was the mastermind. She knew how to make the story different. So she and the mother decided to get the women to wait. But as was their custom, what they thought they would do was, on the third day, they would go find the body and conduct the rituals of memory. Because memory was critical in order for death not to be the last word. So a few of them decided on the third day that they would go to the tomb. Of course, they arrived there, and to their shock, the body had already disappeared. And this was confounding because it was the work of women to remember. And now that there was no body, how were they going to remember? So they ran back to the mother and to the other Mary, Magdalene, to say that what we had feared, what they had feared, what we had feared had happened. They disappeared the body. So the mother said, since we knew this was going to happen, we have a number of jobs that we have to do now. If his message meant something, we have to say it in such a way that those guys will believe us. They're not going to believe us when we first tell them. They're going to call us stupid, like they always do. They're going to call us the worst thing, which is they're going to say, you women better not do any witchcraft or anything over here because we don't want any witchcraft. So we have to see and we have to really touch and smell and hold, without which we can't believe. So y'all don't bring your big stories over here. You know they're going to say all that. So we've got to play this really carefully. So Magdalene, why don't you make the plan? Why don't you tell us what we should do in a sequence? So Magdalene then said, all right, a couple of you go to that fool Peter. You know how he is. He's a literalist. He's a legalist. And if he's not at the center of the story, he's not going to believe it anyway. So we're going to have to treat him in a particular way. We know how to do this. The story will live. The message will live. This is not the end. He told us this. He told us this. This was not going to be the end. So a couple of them went to Peter and his cronies who were sitting there twiddling their thumbs because, well, of course, the government has more power than us. Well, of course, now what do? We are so weak. We can't do anything. We didn't win anything. We thought there was going to be a nice big battle and then we would rule. Nothing happened. They just killed him. They murdered him. That's the end of the story. So the women told him, we have seen him. And of course, you have seen him? Why would he come to you? He was my best friend. Why would he come to you, poor, weak women? And the women said, but we have seen him. Witchcraft. Of course, women would make up such a story. What are you on now? What new drug have you consumed that you're hallucinating, that you have seen him? No, we have seen him. Because the women knew this was how those guys were going to be. A couple of the other women went to some of their allies in the group. I mean, there were a few that were nice guys. There was a Carlos there, there was a John there, there were some nice guys there. And they went to them and said, look, we can't allow this to die so fast. We have to continue to exist. So Thomas and those, I have certain words coming to my mouth that are very 21st century, but I'll try not to do that. Those idiots are going to say that we need proof. You are going to have to help us. You're going to have to say that what we are experiencing is right. So Carlos, being the nice guy, said, okay, but I want to understand, why do you women want to do this anyway? He was killed and they have disappeared him. And the women said, because we want 2,000 years from now for them to remember that the most subversive thing we can do in the face of all the things we all experience, men ruling over us, hating our bodies, ruling for profit, extracting our energies. 2,000 years from now, they're going to be talking the same thing. And at that time, we want some woman in the audience to remind everybody else, in the face of this, I will live in hope. I will subvert these logics of death and erasure, of memory. When they will not allow us to remember, I will remember. I will remember my child. I will call her name in public. We will remember from the far corners of the world. We will remember our children. And they will take that away unless we teach them how to inhabit hope. And Carlos, being the nice guy, said, but nobody will believe women. Women can teach, women can say, but nobody believes women anyway. And that's when the mother said, well, we'll give you a gift. You go and talk about it. They don't need to remember us. It's okay. Our names, no one will remember. It's all right. But the most important thing that they need to do is to live the lessons that he taught us. I'll stop there because I think the story continues in your own heads and hearts, right? I'm so moved by everything you said. I will hold your children, our people, all the energies that they are taking from us, we will hold them in hope, because death was never the end. Thank you.
Gracias, Susan, por releer con nosotros la historia de esta comunidad de mujeres que reinventaron la historia de un desaparecido y que siguen reinventando ustedes, mujeres, llamándonos a la esperanza y a la vida. Maddie, it's up to you. Gracias por compartir esta manera de escucharnos mutuamente. Bienvenida.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for allowing me to listen to your incredibly powerful, moving testimonies. It's an honor to be in this role as a listener. I feel very, very grateful to be here. I was really struck by the theme of channeling emotion that I heard in all of the really powerful witnesses that we heard today. How do we manage our anger? How do we organize our anger? What do we do with our love? What do we do with our indignation? The cries for justice. And the image that was coming into my head was one of actually planting seeds in an orchard, where the indignation and the anger are the soil that we wouldn't choose, but the soil that's there. And what I saw in all of these movements this morning was really powerfully rooted trees and beautiful organisms, somehow beautifully finding life and power, incredible power from the soil that they were planted in. And the fruit that I saw bearing from these trees was the fruit of love and justice. And so I want to thank you for, the powerful witness that all of you offered today. In the image that I think connects to the emotions that everyone probably was experiencing in their bodies while hearing these stories, and the emotions that are connecting to the earth in the ritual that we saw this morning as well. In one of my classes this last semester, we were talking about resurrection, a class with Carlos, and we spoke about resurrection in a really unique way, not as a moment that comes in the future, but as a particular texture or a small whisper that's breaking into time in the here and now. And what resurrection represents in that imagery is a small crack in the structure that's being built by capitalism and extractivism, is being cracked open by the forces that are rising up, creating life amidst death. And what's happening here is the power of the resurrection. And ironically, wounds was also a theme that came up today. And I actually was also thinking of the Easter Sunday story through a little bit of a different lens, and the presence of the wounds that were the indication to the disciples that Jesus was risen. The story of St. Thomas encountering the risen Jesus was that he recognized Jesus as resurrected because he was able or invited to touch Jesus's wounds. And that was the same process that I experienced in listening to you all today, recognizing a texture of life, maybe even resurrected life, amidst death, because of the woundedness that you all were able to witness to today, and more importantly, the incredible power and life that was coming from that woundedness and that bears incredible fruit for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you. Gracias, Mari.
La cuarta pregunta, que es a la que quiero contestar, que dice, ¿qué papel ha desempeñado la religión o la espiritualidad en tu despertar? Y para mí ha sido maravilloso. La primera semana que detuvieron a los compañeros, era diciembre de 2014, nos encontrábamos en un cuartito de hotel muy sencillo y nos mirábamos mujeres, éramos puras mujeres, incluida una niñita de 4 años. Su papá estaba preso. Y entonces yo les dije, pues hay que arrodillarnos, ¿no? ¿Qué vamos a hacer? Vamos a arrodillarnos y a clamar al Eterno por justicia. Y caímos de rodillas todas. Pero yo crecí en la tradición que acá en México le dicen cristiana bautista, evangélica bautista. Mi hermana Elvira en la tradición católica, mi hermana Caritina en la denominación del séptimo día, la otra sin religión, la otra atea, y nos arrodillamos todas y nos agarramos de la mano. Y entonces para mí ese día se cayeron las barreras denominacionales. Y con el paso de los años también se han caído las barreras de las tradiciones. Y cuánto amo a las musulmanas que encuentran a Alá, o a las budistas que profundizan en su espiritualidad para hacer pura su vida. Y dije, Dios mío, tenías que hacer esto para que aprendiéramos realmente lo que es el amar al prójimo. Tenías que romper las paredes con este dolor. Ha sido maravilloso, ha sido maravilloso. Y en el plantón que sostenemos desde hace 2 años, también mujeres en la Ciudad de México, frente al Consejo de la Judicatura Federal, allí han llegado nuestras hermanas de las comunidades de bases eclesiales, de ahí del Pedregal de Santo Domingo, de la Parroquia de la Resurrección, y cuando nos hermanamos en oración, en cantos, en lecturas, me alegra tanto que nunca imaginé esta fiesta de celebrar al Señor de los Señores, al Creador, así. Y luego el año pasado llegaron una hermana de la tradición, como dice Araceli, dirigió una invocación libertaria cuando estábamos en una fuerte exigencia, y cuando saludamos a la bóveda celeste, yo dije, quiero yo orar al Dios del cielo. Y estábamos convergiendo todos los sentires, todas las tradiciones por la libertad. Y yo dije, wow, o sea, por eso eres un Dios infinito, por eso eres un Dios infinito. Y esto que escucho de ustedes me trae eso, y quiero dejárselos aquí como un producto maravilloso de lo que producen los despertares. Y libertad a los presos políticos de los Xochitlán de Flores Magón y a las presas de México y el mundo. Gracias.
Gracias, brava, Argelia. Gracias por tu testimonio.
As I listen to these conversations all day in the morning, something is striking me, and that is awakening builds community. And Araceli, if I may use your story well, and I noticed the transition in that, how your daughter became a member of a community that did not know her physically, but she was already a member of the community. And that the power of stories is that they form life, they give meaning to people. They are never my story, it is our story. So your awakening is our life. And that's one thing I'm getting from this. And it's very important that we also understand that evil itself is a communitarial act. Even when an individual is perpetuating it, that person is standing in place of the community to perpetuate death. The right response to that evil must be a communitarian centeredness. And that is what awakening does.
Ahora les agradecemos de nueva cuenta a Susan y a Madi su retroalimentación, a todos los 6 colectivos que esta mañana han compartido su palabra, y seguimos adelante en esta conversación de este taller festival Re-Existe. Muchas gracias.